Hi, everybody. Welcome to TriVersity Talk. I am Wendy Stewart, and you all know me, but I have a special guest host tonight. I'd like you all to meet comedian Ike Avelli.
Yay!
Come on down, Ike Avelli.
I am thrilled. I love that intro, by the way.
Oh
How
my God.
colorful and oh my God, so many people that we know and
No,
share.
it's great. I love the whole collage. I love what it says. I love all the people in it.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. So really great to have you guesting with us tonight.
Thank you for asking, Wendy. I am thrilled.
Oh, you and I are gonna have a blast. We
Oh
just
yeah, totally.
keep cracking up and making jokes. Listen, everybody, when I'm with Ike Avelli, anyone that is into comedy, when you're with Ike Avelli, you just can't stop laughing or making jokes or just laughing at stupid things.
Yeah, or when you put the two of us together, it's worse, right?
Yeah, right. It's a lot worse. And we were actually together a few weeks ago. Ike has an amazing show called 50 Shades of Gay, and we did the show at Pangea in New York City. It was a really great evening. Kobe Cole was in the show, Jacqueline Dupuis. Tim Moss is usually in this show, but Tim is so busy these days. He was doing something else, but we really, really had a good time.
And we were so thrilled to have you in it too. What a great addition. You did amazing. That number was like the perfect fit for the theme of the show. It was just
love for sale.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Amazing.
You know what I lack in singing, I make up for in performance.
Yeah, and also too, you got to add the sketch that really had no practice.
Right.
We just winged it, and people loved it.
And it was fun, which goes to show you in life, you know what? Sometimes you just have to take risks, and sometimes you have to get out of your comfort zone and do something that's just kind of off the wall. Right. And when you get done doing it, you're going to feel very good about yourself.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of taking risks, I have a very interesting guest tonight, and I would like to thank Stephen Rafiki for telling me about his amazing friend who happens to be an author now, but he has a very interesting background. Mm-hmm. He has worked in industry. He has been a life coach. And he came up with an idea to have these series of books using his background in the ministry, which I could always interest me when people have that kind of background, right?
Right.
Because I don't know a lot about that. But he's turned that ministry background into a series of books. So that's what we're here to talk about. We are not saints. Isn't that the truth? And I'd like to introduce everybody to Les Brown.
Hey, Les.
Hey, Wendy. Hey, Ike.
What a great intro.
A great intro. The best so far.
Well, no, you know what? This is because we do shows and we do shows live, and Ike MCs all the time. When you're bringing a guest on, you just listen. Sometimes you only have 5 people in the audience, right? But you put that guest on the biggest pedestal you possibly can, and you say the greatest things about them, and they're all true usually.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't even touch on everything either, too, because you have such a big background.
I wear more hats than you.
Yes.
Oh my God, don't start with him, because you don't know, like a minute from now, no, you don't know what you're dealing with. There'll be a red Coco Peru wig that'll come on, and then it's some kind of hat.
You'll get a panettone, Les. You'll get a panettone.
Right.
Okay.
He loves costumes, so if you bait him, you may get more than you bargained for. Well, I'd like to start with, where are you from originally?
Oh, okay. I was born and raised in West Hartford, Connecticut. I'm a Connecticut Yankee.
You're a Connecticut Yankee, and also Hartford, land of insurance companies.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. That's what Hartford.
Once upon a time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Once upon a time. So you grew up in West Hartford, and when you were a little boy, did you have aspirations of being an author?
No, actually, I had aspirations of being a priest, but I got to say, the idea of writing something has always sort of been way back there somewhere. Yeah.
Way back there. That's interesting. So you thought about being a priest, and I was talking to Ike before the show about his background and the church and everything. What was it that made you think you would want to be a priest growing up?
I wish I could answer that question.
Wow.
It's like a bug that bites you and won't let go.
Were you raised in a family that was very religious and that you were in church? No, really. That's interesting.
It was a normally religious household. My mom took us to church on Sunday, and that was about it. We went to Sunday school. Nothing particularly wonderful.
And was there
it was all me.
It was all you that made you aspire to be. I got to ask, Ike, did you ever aspire to be a priest?
Probably just for the gowns. I mean, they're flowing, black, it's slimming.
Right. Everything that you wanted.
Yeah.
And although you never made it there, Ike, you're getting to wear those gowns anyway.
Yeah, I do have one in my closet.
Funny how life is.
Yeah.
So I would assume then in high school and in college, you were still thinking about doing that. And you made
I went into the seminary at the ripe old age of 15.
Wow.
Yes, that's very interesting to me. That's certainly a big commitment. I've heard people talk about this. Was it like a calling?
Like I say, it's like something bites and won't let go. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now for something
like
that, right?
It's not like somebody talking in your ear, but it's like drawn, just continually drawn. And the farther I got away from it, the stronger the draw was.
Wow.
So from the time you were born till you were still 15, you were in Connecticut at 15, or did you move around still on the East Coast?
In Connecticut at 15.
You're still in Connecticut. There you go.
Yeah. Did anyone think it was unusual that you had, such a strong pull towards being a priest?
Anything unusual? Not really.
Okay. I grew up in an Irish Catholic neighborhood, and clearly, people were very, very, they went to church. It was very heavy duty. And of course, we had kids from those families that, early on in the game was decided they were going to be a priest.
Yeah, and that's funny because I think we did have somebody, because we were Italian Catholic, and we did have members of the family who were priests, and some were monks, and they did go toward ministry. And I find it really fascinating because they were younger as well, but it was just something they felt was a calling. They wanted to do it since they were a young age, and then fulfilled it.
No, there wasn't the social push that some people have experienced. I did not. I did not grow up in an Irish or Italian household.
But that's good that it came from you.
As a matter of fact, my mother is interestingly enough today, my mother is Ukrainian, full-blooded Ukrainian.
Wow.
So there were no other Ukrainians in West Hartford that I knew of.
Really, really interesting. So you studied theology and philosophy.
I did.
Where did you go to school?
For philosophy and theology, I went to St. Paul University, which is part of the University of Ottawa in Canada.
Okay.
So that's interesting. What made you decide to go to Canada to go to school?
Ordinarily, you study for a particular diocese, and the diocese assigns you a seminary most of the time. At least it was back when I was that age.
Okay.
So I was assigned there because I had a lot of French, and at the time, it was one of the best philosophy, that they had a full faculty of philosophy there. And I studied with some amazing professors. Amazing.
How do you think philosophy and theology go hand in hand with each other? Philosophy, I know about. Theology, I know nothing about.
Interesting. The subject of philosophy is life, the universe, and everything. The study of theology is the life, the universe, everything, and the divine. Same methodology,
right.
just a different subject matter, different focus.
So, because the divine is involved, Ike, I didn't say divine was involved. Okay.
Yeah, that would have been really good. She would have been kicked out.
Because the divine is involved, it brings in the aspects then of spirituality.
Of course.
Yeah.
Spirituality, the scriptures, liturgy, history of religion, history of the church, all of that. Yeah, that's all part of it.
So that makes sense. Yeah.
So you became a priest, yeah? And how long? You're talking to a real novice here, but completely fascinated by this. I've spent a lot of time with alternate religions, like priests of that are in the Yoruba culture. I guess they kind of end up the same. All priests, all roads lead to Rome.
Right.
Okay.
That was a joke. But you know, how long does it take for one to become a priest?
Postgraduate, 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
4 years.
Postgraduate.
Okay.
Postgraduate. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that would be like a PhD almost.
No, because it's a different subject matter.
Yeah.
Ordinarily, it's a bachelor's level degree, or if you go for 4 years, it'll be a master's level degree.
Which is
so
what
I have 2 master's degrees. I have one in philosophy that I did an extra year to get my master's in philosophy, and then 4 years of theology.
Did you so when you finally became, I think, and you can correct me if my terminology is wrong, they call that the ordained priest, right? Yep. You became an ordained priest, and what did you have to, when you came out, what was some of the first things you had to do?
Came out in what sense?
Yeah, because I was gonna.
God, I got a live bunch here tonight. When I didn't mean coming out as a priest. I mean when you came out when you graduated, and not coming out LGBTQ when you graduated.
I worked in a parish for 10 years.
Okay, that's a very, very long time. What did you like about working in a parish, and what did you not like about working in a parish?
Oh, interesting. I loved working with the people. I loved the liturgy. The administrative part was not my favorite. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Okay.
And of course, anyone in a service position has the same experience, that we have to deal with all kinds of people, healthy and not so healthy.
Right. So I would think the expectations for someone like you, though, would be higher, because priests have to listen to confession. You know, the regular people in the world, right, put their priest, father.
Yeah, that was difficult.
Yeah.
I didn't particularly like being. The problem with being a public person, and I mean the ministry as well as an entertainer or a politician, is that it's so easy to start believing the hype.
Yeah.
about yourself. And that was, I think that's a temptation for anybody who's in the public eye, because there are going to be people who are saying, you are the best ever,
Yeah.
and how can you not believe that?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, that's easy. I know they're stab us in the back.
So oh Father, you're so wonderful. Oh Father, that was the best sermon ever. And you start buying the hype.
Yeah. Well, I have a quick question for you, because with LGBTQ, I know growing up in a Catholic family, it was kind of taboo in the church. So I was just wondering, serving as well, you were LGBTQ as well. Was it awkward knowing that? Did you have to tell them you were a part of the LGBTQ, or you had to keep silent?
Oh, don't ask, don't tell.
Right. So I was just curious as how that went, because that was early on.
My coming out process was slow, although I probably reached the conclusion early in college, but I kept the commitment, and thought I could do it.
Right.
And wanted to do it.
Okay.
Reality was a little different over the course of time.
Right.
Some people in the parish knew that I was gay, especially because I was going to the next city and going to gay bars, and some people knew that I was doing that. I got to be the unofficial chaplain of the gay bar at one point.
You are the first guest we have had on this show that has.
I love this. Love this.
Wow. It became quite difficult over time.
Yeah, that to me is very sad, because I feel like you're loving what you're doing in the ministry where they are pushing back the LGBTQ.
Yeah.
So that had to be.
I thought, well, as a gay person myself, I'm going to be able to relate with some of the gay younger people who are still struggling, and be supportive. I didn't get much chance to do that.
Yeah.
I did some, for sure. Good. I still have a couple of friends from back then who were in the youth group, and and whom I was able to reassure that they were okay.
Yeah, I love that.
So it's very interesting to me that you were out, you were obviously out. From everything that I've heard, you always hear about priests getting kicked out or whatever. Nobody was even challenging you in that 10-year period.
No, not really. But I wasn't,
I think that period also too was prior to, like, I think now the last probably 10, 15 years, it's been more, prominent with the accusations and all that stuff. But I think when you were it was a different time.
With one of our earlier recent popes was very conservative.
Yeah.
And basically, from what I've seen, loaded the church down with conservative bishops, conservative administration. So it's become more difficult, and of course, with all the molestation stories, that has really made it difficult for somebody to be LGBTQ out and in the Catholic ministry, at least.
I'm amazed, that you were able to do that. I really am. I could probably write it. This is like incredible. I wasn't expecting to hear this, and I love it. I have to tell you because I'm thinking all the people that you were able to touch, right, with your essence while you were there, and that's really something. Because at the end of the day, right, isn't that great that you can affect people in that way?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know? What a
And
great
trust. It was trust.
Right.
I think that's the most important thing when you're in the ministry too. It's trust. They want to be able to come to you, tell them how they're feeling without, right, exactly.
Right. That's
No, I was not a fan of condemnation of any sort.
wow. So 10 years and then you left?
I did. I ran into, I don't know how familiar you guys are with codependency.
Oh yeah, we know all about you. Oh my God, that's 3 other shows. But go on.
Okay,
we know
that my life became miserable, not because of the ministry per se, but because I was struggling with codependency, untreated codependency. And I left because I didn't think it was fair for me to be dealing with my own emotional problems and putting myself in a position of being an emotional support and counselor to other people. I took I stepped back so that I could work on myself and get myself healthier, with an eye to maybe coming back.
kudos to you.
Yeah, kudos to you in taking the high road. Wow.
As it turned out, only out a few months when the infamous Ratzinger came out that said that LGBTQ people were intrinsically disordered, and I said I can't go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I said this is just wrong. It's theological, psychologically, sociologically, every which way wrong.
Right. Yeah.
So
so that door shut behind you at that point.
I shut it.
You shut it.
It's nice when you could shut it yourself.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, and have that control.
Yeah.
So there you are. This had been, your calling, your passion, what you were going to do from the time you were a child. Now you're an adult. All right. And now what's next? What happened?
I went to work at the family machine shop, the family factory.
Okay.
Wow. What a
and I worked there for 15 years as chief information officer, chief financial officer, vice president.
Wow.
And I also ran machines.
Yeah. You've done it all.
Far away, right? I think than you can get from what you were.
I told you more hats than Ike.
But you know what? That's the beauty part, because in any career you can reinvent yourself, no matter what it is.
So many times.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a big. Y'all have to admit that's a big reinvention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you at any point?
I looked at it as a learning experience, and it really was.
It was.
I learned a great deal. Became certified as a quality. What do they call it? Certified in quality management. I
quality
got
assurance. Like when you make sure. Yeah. Wow, from people to product.
Right.
And I missed, after 15 years, I was kind of missing working with people. And I heard about coaching. At that time, the Covey organization had a coaching program, so I signed up for that and got certified with the Covey organization as a life coach. and left the manufacturing business and put out a shingle as a life coach.
And then you became it's interesting because if I do the timeline correctly, you were in the machine business longer than you were a priest for, yeah?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep.
The life coach though does match with being, the priest.
Mm-hmm.
What's really impressive is all these milestones in your age were different careers. Because I think when you went to life coaching, were you in, I don't want to give your age away, but you were probably hitting your late 30s?
Oh no. Oh no. I was well into my 40s.
Okay. But still a milestone.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I was like pushing 50.
Okay. Milestone.
And when you were, for all intents and purposes, changing careers, did you start questioning things about yourself, or you just like, this is time, I'm done with the other thing and I'm moving on?
The business wasn't doing well. It was time to move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
From that.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened with the life coaching. Actually, we hit 2008 and the crash, and people just didn't have the money to go for life coaching.
Right.
With the recession. So it was time to move from there. My husband, along the line,
you got a husband.
I picked up a husband. He retired from the government after 39 years. So he was working for the federal government in DC when I met him. And before you knew it, I was looking for a job with the feds, and that's where I got hired at the Pentagon.
Jeez.
From the priesthood to the Pentagon with a stop life coaching in between. That's a lot of hats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Believe it or not, there's a thread going through the whole thing. I call myself a MidTech person. I'm not a high-tech person, but I've been involved with computers since 19 till early 1980s with the what was it, the Excel?
It was Excel, right?
Right. Dot matrix.
So I've been involved with computers. So I used it in the ministry. I used it at the factory. As I said, I was the chief information officer. I ran their website and all that. I did all my own keeping and so on with the life coaching. And when I went to work at the Pentagon, it was with an organizational management section in Human Resources Division.
Okay.
And a lot of the work that I did was in SharePoint and working with the computer. So that's kind of been
a thread. That's a common thread. That thread of tech through the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Although it is, if you think about it, tech is you in a machine, and then you had all of these points in your life where you were interacting with people. You said the crash of 2008 is why you left life coaching. If that hadn't happened, that seems to be, from what you're saying, meeting with people and being a life coach was probably gratifying for you.
It was. It was also a struggle. If you're a corporate coach, you have a built-in client base.
Yeah.
What I didn't figure on when I got into life coaching was you're wearing all the hats and marketing and all that.
Right.
I was as a marketer.
Okay.
Right. Well, isn't life coaching though, like a lot of it's word of mouth, people referring people to you?
Yes. That's where I got most of my clients. You're right.
Did from referrals. Yeah, I would think it works like that. So
So
you have this whole background, and you certainly have a lot to build on in terms of characters.
Yes, I do.
Because I'm sure you met them. What gave birth to your first book and why?
Well, two things happened. I always wondered, how do you write a novel? Where do you start?
Right.
How do people do this thing? It was a mystery. And fortunately, I have a friend here in Palm Springs who was a screenplay writer for a lot of television shows that things like Falcon Crest and Dynasty and Love Boat and so on. And we were chatting one day, and he says, "Well, I have this book. It's called Right Now, WRITE, and it tells you all about how to write a novel." So I picked up Right Now, and sure enough, I went, "Wow, that's how it's done. I could do that."
Wait, that is hilarious.
So this was during, because I think your first book was 2007, right? From what I was reading. Did you do a book prior?
Oh, when I was a coach, yes.
I wrote your book.
One of the things that coaches do to market themselves is write books. So I wrote a book called The Frazzled Entrepreneur's Guide to Having It All.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That book, I think it sold 3 copies.
Well, it's going to sell another one tonight. So.
Yeah, right. There you go. 4 copies. Yeah. And you can share this stream when it's all over. It'll live in perpetuity. You'll get more book orders.
But that was nonfiction. Right. At least it was supposed to be nonfiction.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was curious, because you wrote it for small business owners back in 2007, from what I understood. So how would it reflect today? Would you change anything? Obviously, with everything happened for small businesses with the pandemic, would it be?
I don't know if I want to get into it deeply, but a lot of that particular book is project management, basic project management. Mm-hmm. And between the time that I wrote the book and retired from Headquarters Marine Corps, I got my certification as a project management specialist.
Okay.
And so there are things I would say differently in the book after that certification than what it was. Nothing's wrong with it. I could have done it. I could do a better job with it now if I wanted to.
But I brought up a good point
I'm sorry, Wendy, I talked over you.
Brought up a good point. I was thinking that too. Like, what would you change about that book for the pandemic? If I were writing a book like that during the pandemic, it would be, why bother? You're going to go
who can afford the book?
Right. So many out of businesses, but when we talk about this, we're talking about, it's like we're talking about a totally different world, right? Pre-pandemic, when it came to small.
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh, really?
So such a totally different time.
It's funny that my husband is yeah, that's what he is.
I knew it, Les.
Stay tuned.
Exactly. Why I'm having a blank here.
Why don't you tell us how you met your husband?
He's an organizational management specialist.
Okay.
Oh.
And we wound up doing similar things when I was hired on. Okay. And it was funny that both of us were involved with Telework. Remember under the Obama administration, the idea was bring in telework.
Mm-hmm.
And he did policy. I did not. He was writing policy for his organization on telework. We were trying to bring in telework to our organization as well. We had all the reasons why. We both came up hit up against the same loggerhead, and that was supervisors wanted to babysit their people.
Mm-hmm.
That's micromanagement, of course.
Yep, right, exactly.
Micromanagement didn't matter that they were more productive when they were at home. You couldn't see them working, so obviously they weren't. And of course, the message that was sent was not healthy, like we don't trust you.
Yeah.
So I think at one point we were given like up to 4 days a week, or actually I think it was we had to be in the office 1 day every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Our pay periods are 2 weeks long. And that came down to we were allowed to telework 1 day out of a pay period. All upper management.
Right.
So you're, of course, COVID comes along and boom,
Yeah.
everybody's teleworking.
But Les, and you're a great person to ask about this. Because my daughter moved back home when this all happened, and she's done so phenomenal with her job, working in the living room with our parrots, sitting on her computer, attending Zoom meetings.
Yes.
He has been super productive, and the company she works for really loves her.
Perfect.
Right. But in my mind, this is terrible, but I've like busted butt on 10-hour days, as I'm sure Ike has 10, 12-hour days. It's not like that with the people working at home yet. I hear that they're just more productive. What do you think about that?
First of all, it depends on the job. It depends on, there are still people working 10 hours a day.
There are.
Telework has really proven itself for those people who are willing to look at it. People are more productive. There's no commute. For me, it was a commute 1 hour either direction.
Oh yeah, that's terrible.
For many people, it was longer than that. It's a total waste of time and a waste of life. The other thing that's wonderful about telework is you need to walk the dog. You're going to get up and walk around. Anyway, you take the dog out for a walk, you throw a load of laundry in, and you sit back down and get back to it.
Yep.
And you've had your break.
Yes,
and you've been productive.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. And then also, how much money is being spent, and I'm on a soapbox, pardon me, how much money is being spent on buildings?
Thank you. Our company that I worked for prior was actually giving up their space so they could save the employees' jobs because there was no productivity. So it was either get rid of the employees or just use this retail space that maybe had 1,800 square feet and they were only using 200. So goodbye.
And the smart companies are doing hoteling.
Right. Yes.
Which means it's nobody's office. It's whoever's office comes in that particular day.
Right.
So you share. Everybody's got his own or her own computer.
Yeah.
So you share office space. So it reduces the amount of space necessary hugely. So all these big high rises, they're probably going to be turning into condos.
Yeah.
Right. So you mean places like WeWork where you can just go in there for the day. Yeah. It makes sense.
Again, reinventing. It's reinventing things that are in front of us, whether it be people or buildings.
Right. That's exactly. We have to all be able to reinvent as Les has reinvented himself. So you
constantly still doing it.
Yeah.
But the way the book came about. You got this book, you know, the name of it, you
Read
too
the book.
writer, or what was it again?
It was Right Now by Elizabeth Borkwitz, I think.
Yeah.
And I won't give away her secrets. She says you can learn the craft, you can't learn the talent.
Right.
So what she taught me was the craft. Pardon me.
And I love that you just learned to write for this. I had a John Nagy learn to draw kit when I was a kid. I know you know that John Nagy, right? You remember that?
Oh yeah,
still
for
have
sure.
I got it for Christmas. I still have the painting, and it was something like what Les is saying. You two can be a painter. In these 6 easy steps. But you brought out a good point, Les. You still need to have the talent, and you're a bright guy who's done a lot of stuff, so you could learn the craft, and then you had the talent. So
and I have a lot of experience I can draw on in painting the characters. For me, it was all about the characters.
Right.
It was also about presenting gay guys in an ordinary way.
Yes.
You know, they're not struggling with their sexuality. They're not struggling to come out. They're not struggling against a homophobic monster. You know, they meet homophobia. Of course they do. But that's not the core of who they are or what they're doing. They're not dealing with dying with AIDS, all those themes that have inundated LGBTQ literature
that have been done.
I thought it would be nice to have some characters who were gay, and it was almost incidental to the fact that they had spiritual issues, they had interpersonal issues, they had career issues, and it also gave me a chance to show a little taste of what it's like. Pardon me, I need some water.
Yeah, you need to do
to be on the inside of the other part of ministry that you don't see from the outside.
Okay.
Well, I think that's what you can bring to the party through your characters, because you've seen it. So that brings me to what I was wondering. I read about Father Jared Rohrbach, Hannah, the stepmother, Father Paul Forrest. These characters, were they based on people that you actually worked with or people you knew?
No. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm quite on purpose.
Okay.
I can't say that certain people didn't come to mind, but they're definitely not based on anyone. And the events aren't based on anything that I personally experienced. There were events that were rather unpleasant that happened in everybody's life.
Right, of course.
I tried to recreate the experience without the details of the events.
Okay.
So none of my events, nobody that I know of did what the people in the book did.
Okay. Well, the book it seemed a little salacious the way it started off, because Jared, it seemed like he was interested in Paul, and it was. I'm like, I want to go into the ministry now. I'm like,
I swear, Ike told me that he wants to go into the ministry.
Oh, they're walking around in the showers with the towels.
And this is a little bit.
This is just a little bit idealized, because I don't think in this day and age, as we were talking earlier about what with John Paul II and the microscope on the ministry now, I don't know how well these guys would do in real life.
Right. Exactly.
But that's the beauty of being a writer. All right. You can make a compilation of a human being based on your own imagination.
And that's the fun.
It's the fun.
The other fun part of it that I didn't expect was you create a character. You think of a character, you want this character to do X, Y, Z, and the first thing you have to do is give the character a name. Once you name the character, they take over. They take over.
They got a mind of their own.
You're going to make the story go in a particular direction. I've heard so many writers say the same thing. The characters run the show.
They do. They do. You can make them salacious. You can make them a villain. And the best part, it's all you putting it all down.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, I didn't realize I was a villain.
They'll tell you where it's going and what they're going to do.
Yep.
Pretty much.
That it's really a lot of fun and very freeing.
It is.
It's
a lot of fun.
You see, when you're talking about all this now, you're smiling the whole time. You're having fun, Les.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Is.
I live in Palm. I'm retired and I write. What could be better?
No,
I'm telling you.
Really, what could be better? What made you decide to name that? This is going to be a series, right? And I think you have, you calling it "We Are Not Saints." Where did that title come to mind?
Here comes the creative part.
Yeah, right.
There is a very popular book that deals with recovery that has a passage in it where it says we are not saints. And the book will remain nameless for the moment.
Okay.
But the book deals with recovery from various things.
Such as codependency?
Oh, now I want to know.
Alcohol, drug addiction, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Right.
Now I want to know.
So that's great that the title, I wanted to ask you where the title came from. And yeah.
I was trying to come up with a title for the series. And I was reading that passage and I said, I couldn't find a better title.
Right.
Because the expectation is that somebody in the ministry is a saint and is saintly and it knows everything and is the perfect Christian or perfect person. Right. But we are not saints.
Right.
I'm taking it back to what you said early on when we first started talking, the incredible amount of pressure that it put on you. Father, you're wonderful. Father, you're this. Father, you're that. We are not saints.
Right.
Right. Right.
So it really did come full
circle. But that
circle.
Doesn't mean we're bad people.
Right.
No, of course not. But it is interesting because it has come full circle from where you started.
Yes. In many ways it has. In many ways it has.
Somewhere in there we'll work the machines in. I haven't quite figured out.
Which is right. In your dedication, I believe it was your dedication where you stated, we see them as neither better or worse than us, and I love that because it is true.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And to get over the being scandalized by the fact that these people are human.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
The unreasonable expectations in many cases.
Yeah, I think that is a very good point, though, because you're talking about putting religious leaders on pedestals or leaders just in general. And I'll get political. Look what the hell is happening in our world right now.
I know. Heartbreaking.
Right.
It is.
Heartbreaking.
Absolutely.
Heartbreaking. And what we just came out of the last, couple of years. And there are still people that are putting those people on pedestals, and it's not good. It's not good.
No. And what pains me so much is that some people are using religion to justify the unjustifiable, and to me, that's unjustifiable.
Yeah.
But that's huge. That is exactly okay. And believe me, we've got 4 more shows out of this. Using religion, to justify the unjustifiable. I mean, across the board, certainly what we saw during this pandemic, and I cannot wrap my head around this for all the tea in China. No. People watching their mothers, fathers, spouses, or children die from something they could get a vaccine for. I rack my brain about this all the time. I'm like, maybe some psychologist will come out with a great analysis of why this is happening, because I can't make sense of it.
The best I can do, and I don't have PhD after my name, but the best I can do is that our worldview comes from a set of basic assumptions. And those basic assumptions formulate our worldview. You change those basic assumptions, and the whole worldview changes. The basic assumption that this is a dangerous world, that that everybody's out to get me, that I'm a victim. There's this set of basic assumptions that once you adopt that, the whole rest of it falls into place.
Right.
It's true.
And they need certainty. They need certitude. They have to be absolutely right.
Yeah.
Right.
For the rest of us, I enjoy living in uncertitude, in uncertainty. It makes life interesting.
It sure does.
And
right.
I
think you brought up a really good point, though. That's what you just said. Nobody has said to me that they need to live in that certitude. They have to have that, and maybe that is not. You can't penetrate it. You can't change it. You can't affect it. It's so they are willing to lose someone they love over it.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was very evident in the last few years.
Right, Ike?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, at least when we went through AIDS, because that was a huge, I lost so, but I remember, other than the parents that rejected their children, people were, they were understanding what it was, how horrible it was, and that no matter what, it had to be stopped. Somebody had to come up with something somewhere, somehow, because we could not have this happen.
Keep going.
This whole thing with this pandemic, it's really willing to sacrifice. And I read all this stuff. We're back to what you studied in theology. Praying, the effect of prayer. I have to reject that one, and I'm a big prayer. And things aren't. We all need something out there above, a higher power to answer to talk to. It gives us something. But not when somebody that you love is dying, that you're going to allow that. I'll pray for them.
Right. Exactly. You hit it on the nose. I love that.
I think it was Ignatius of Loyola that said, pray as if everything depended on God, work as if everything depends on you.
Right. Wow, that's a big.
We are God.
Well, no, there has
Yeah.
to be both. There has
Yeah.
to be both.
There has to be both, and if you study other cultures, there are absolutely, there is always a higher power in every culture.
It's also kind of we've been brought up in kind of a strange idea of prayer that prayer is asking for stuff.
Yeah, right.
I don't do that anymore.
No.
Not at all. I really have only two prayers, and that is thank you, and that's the biggie.
Yeah.
And tell me what to do and give me the strength to do it. What else do I need?
Exactly.
Yeah, I do that. Tell me what to do one a lot these days.
Yeah, a lot of people did that. I remember even growing up, find me the way to make money to put food on the table. It was you find anything you can, but a lot of people just ask for material things.
Right. And and that's the least of it.
My big is show me the way. I ask all the time, show me the way.
Yep.
Because I can feel when it's not right around me. And that's both good and bad.
Right.
And the other half of the other part of that, after the prayer part, we're human beings. I don't believe that God or a higher power wants us to be weird about it. Yeah. If we do our best, we're gonna screw up.
Yes.
But that's okay. That's how we learn.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right.
So I pray, I do the best I can, and you know what? The best I can is good enough.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
Les, do you have, because of your background, do you have people from the LGBTQ community reaching out to you for support and guidance?
Not so much, but I do. I would say the majority of our friends are gay men, and I do continue a little ministry.
You do?
I do. If you go out on my website, you'll see my homilies.
I did see the homilies, and I didn't read them because I was going to ask you. This sounds crazy. I don't really understand what a homily is.
A sermon is when I say God thank you. A homily is I take a reading and try to make it relevant to today.
Thank you for explaining that to me. I really didn't. I was going to ask you that. Well, that's really important to do. And yes, I did see those on your website.
Yeah. So I keep writing, I keep speaking, I keep busy.
Well,
keeping busy, and you have a wonderful husband. 25 years.
25 years.
God bless.
26. Sorry, 26. 25 was last year.
Right. This is God bless. That's really, really wonderful to have found that, to find your soulmate.
Mm-hmm.
And truly.
It is great that you do continue to share with the LGBTQ community. We've had a lot of people on the show and a lot of questions about religion, and from all different from Catholic, from Methodist, Lutheran. I've learned so much doing this show, because you have to, in the world right now, you really have to think about religion and how it affects. I think this is definitely a time where we all need to be thinking about that, with what's going on in the world.
Some people are allergic to the word God and to the word religion, and that's fine. Yeah. But we need a spiritual basis.
Yes. Thank you. Amen. I know. I do. So as we get
come down front, touch the radio.
Yeah.
As we get to the end of the show, we always ask our guests if there's a few things they want to say, or a message they want to get out there, or buy my book, or
well, absolutely. Buy my book.
And hold that
It's
up real good.
available on Amazon.
I got my copy.
Yeah.
But no, we have covered a lot of territory, and it's been been great fun. Both of you, Wendy and I. It's been
we love doing this, and I love what you brought to our party tonight in our community. Where can people find your book?
We Are Not Saints, the Priest on Amazon.
Yep, that's where I saw
if you go to hlesbrown.com, there is a bookstore there. You'll see a little bookstore. And I autograph the book and send it from here if you buy it through there. So.
Oh, that's great.
Well, I'm going to have to buy another copy.
And the We Are Not Saints, the Acolyte, I'm expecting will be out in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, good.
How does that make you feel when you finish a book?
I don't know how much time we have left, but it was brilliant of me to create a series, because one of the things authors say is they hate ending a book because they have to say goodbye to their characters.
Not you.
This series, a lot of the characters are in all 4 books. So I just get ready for the next one. That's all.
It's like the Hunger Games. You get a movie out of this and get 4 parts.
Right.
They're not sequels. There's no prequel or sequel.
Right.
They're kind of parallel books of the same characters doing.
Love it.
So
fabulous. I always take a parting shot before we say goodbye on my little phone, which recently updated and lost a whole bunch of my emails.
I know. How about that?
I hate when that happens.
I hate when that happens.
I hate when that happens. Cheese. One more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing, Wendy. Thank you for having me as a co-host. And Les, what a wonderful treat.
Yeah, this is really great, rewarding for us, and I hope you had a good time in our discussion tonight.
Oh, it was great fun. It was great fun. I loved it.
Thank you to our audience. This is going to be available on the TriVersity channel. So just go to YouTube, TriVersity channel, and the show is up and running.
Yes.
And you can share it and tell your friends to watch. Okay, good night, everybody. Thank you so much.